I never thought silence could burn more than screaming. The nurse had stepped out. The contractions were coming slower now, and I was alone in the maternity ward with my phone in my lap. I wasn't expecting much. A text, maybe. Even a thumbs up. Emoji would have been enough. But my fingers kept refreshing the screen, hoping his name would appear. No call. No message. No Jared. And then it buzzed. Not a message from him, but a notification. Tagged in a post. Date night at Blue Lantern Bistro. My breath caught. Blue Lantern. Our place. The restaurant where he proposed. Where we celebrated every anniversary. Where the waiter already knew our orders. I tapped the photo. There he was. Jared smiling across the table at someone else. Her hand resting over his. She was wearing a slinky black dress, the kind I couldn't squeeze into anymore. Her other hand was delicately holding a wine glass. The caption under her Instagram read, "He always chooses me." I blinked once, twice. Then, I just stared. The room suddenly felt colder, though my cheeks burned hot. A contraction shot through me, and I gripped the bed rail. The monitor beeped steadily. I wanted to scream, not from the pain, but from the humiliation coiling deep in my chest like venom. He wasn't at work. He wasn't stuck in traffic. He was sipping red wine at our table while I lay alone, about to give birth to our son. The cheating didn't start that night, but that's when it became undeniable. Looking back, the signs were there. Missed calls, the sudden work emergencies, the new cologne that smelled nothing like the one he used to wear. I'd asked about the blonde hairs on the passenger seat headrest. He'd said they were his co-workers. They'd carpooled. Right, I'd believed him. Not because he was convincing, but because I needed to believe. I was 7 months pregnant, swollen, hormonal, and terrified of being alone. Jared wasn't always like this. The man I met 4 years ago cried when I told him about my childhood trauma. He carried my books through grad school. He took care of my mom when she got sick. He kissed my stretch marks. But slowly, after the second miscarriage, he shifted. He stopped saying, "We'll try again." He started saying, "You shouldn't stress so much." By the time I was pregnant with Noah, I was doing everything alone. Prenatal vitamins, doctor appointments, Lamaze classes, all solo. He'd show up with flowers sometimes, pretend like nothing was wrong, then disappear for weekends with excuses that stopped making sense, and still, I stayed. For the baby, for the home we built, for the girl who thought love could be salvaged by loyalty. The day after Noah was born, he showed up. He walked into the hospital room with a cup of overpriced coffee like nothing had happened. No apology, no explanation, no mention of Blue Lantern or the woman in the photo. Just a kiss on my forehead and a forced smile. "Sorry I couldn't make it last night," he said, brushing my hair back. Traffic was brutal. I stared at him and I said nothing, because I wanted him to hang himself with his own lies. He picked up the baby, held him like a stranger would, awkward and stiff. "Wow, he's really here." "He is," I said coldly. "You missed it." He nodded. "Let's not do this now, okay? You just gave birth. Let's focus on healing." Healing. As if I was the problem. As if it was me who had torn our vows apart. I turned my face to the window. "She looked pretty last night. Black dress, right?" He froze. I didn't turn to look at him. Just let the words hang there. You were tagged. You might want to tell her to change her privacy settings." He left 2 hours later, not in a rush, but with the same detached politeness of a man who'd overstayed at a dinner party. He kissed Noah's forehead, whispered something I didn't catch, then walked out. And I never saw that version of Jared again. When I got home from the hospital 3 days later, the house was quiet. His shoes were gone, his charger, even his cologne. No note, no text, just an empty closet and a final confirmation. He'd chosen her, and now I had a newborn, a mortgage, and a hole in my chest I couldn't name. But here's what he didn't know. I didn't break. I evolved. While he was building a fantasy, I was building a case. They say grief moves in stages. But betrayal sharpens. It doesn't cry. It calculates. I was sitting in the glider, rocking Noah with one arm, a pen in the other. The hospital band was still around my wrist. I hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours, and the only sound in the room was the soft wheeze of my son's breath and the scratching of pen on paper. I was making a list. Not of groceries, not baby, names, a timeline of everything I remembered. The first lie, the second disappearance, the excuses, the lipstick on a receipt from Valentine's Day he said he spent with his boys. The payments I made, the rent I covered, the car in my name that he drove away in, and most importantly, what I had in writing. I'd been careful, not out of suspicion, at first, but because pregnancy made me anxious, and tracking finances gave me a sense of control. Every bank statement, every bill, every Venmo transaction was still sitting in my inbox, color-coded and time-stamped. When I was done with the list, I turned it over. And on the back, I wrote one more thing. He thinks. He left me, but he forgot I own the house that I paid for. That night, I walked room to room with Noah in a sling, whispering to him. "This is the kitchen Mommy remodeled with her bonus," I told him softly. "That stove? Daddy said we couldn't afford it. But Mommy paid for it in full." We stood in the guest room, the one Jared had once suggested turning into an office for his business. He never started that business. I opened the filing cabinet in the corner and pulled out the deed. My name. Not his. Just mine. We'd bought the house with my inheritance from my mother, and to speed things up, Jared had agreed to let me sign a loan. Said we'd add him later. We never did. He'd never even noticed. A visitor with pink nails, too. Weeks later, she showed up. I was in sweatpants and had one boob out mid-pump when the doorbell rang. I peered through the curtain. It was her. She had sunglasses on and a designer tote slung over her shoulder, even though it was nearly sunset. Her nails were a soft blush pink, manicured to perfection. She smelled like money and poor judgment. "Jared here?" she asked, already annoyed. I leaned against the doorframe, deliberately casual. "He doesn't live here." Her brows lifted. "This was his house." "No, it's mine." She crossed her arms. "He said he'd be staying here until we closed on our condo." I almost laughed. "Well, he lied. Again. He moved out 3 weeks ago." She blinked. "But he gave me this address." "Yeah, sweetie," I said. "He also gave you my wedding anniversary." She didn't move. Her posture sagged just slightly. "Do you know where he is?" I tilted my head. "I think you'll..." Find him wherever cowards go after their lies stop working. And then I shut the door. Softly. Calmly. Like a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to reclaim. Phase 1. Financial extraction. I didn't go public. Not yet. No Instagram. Stories. No family group text blast. No dramatic meltdown at his job, even though I knew exactly where he worked and exactly who signed his paychecks. Instead, I filed a motion, .custody, support, asset freeze. The day the court officer handed Jared the summons at the front desk of his new girlfriend's real estate office, he called me 8 times. I didn't answer once. He sent a text that read, "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Let's talk." I stared at it for a while. Then, I wrote back, "You're right. Let's talk. In court." There are 2 types of revenge. The loud, messy kind that makes you feel strong for a moment. And the quiet, permanent kind that makes them wonder for the rest of their life how it all fell apart. I chose the second kind. The unexpected witness it. Started with a woman named Marcy. She worked the front desk at Jared's old gym, the one he kept paying for even after saying he switched to home workouts. She messaged me after seeing my court filing show up in the local county record feed. Apparently she'd seen something months ago. Something she wasn't supposed to. He used to bring her in on Thursdays. She wrote, "He told me you were separated, but one day I saw you drop off snacks with your baby bump. You looked so happy. I never forgot your face." Her message ended with, "If you need a statement, I'll give one, for free." I never asked her to, but she sent it anyway. A notarized letter, a signed timeline of Jared's Thursday, workouts, and a screenshot of his check-ins, all dated, the ex-friend who changed sides. Then came Will. He was Jared's college buddy. One of those guys who'd show up to barbecues and bring expensive whiskey but never ask how I was doing. I'd never liked him. But apparently even snakes can turn on each other. Will texted me late one night. He left her too. She was just a phase like you were, apparently. Said he's dating some girl from work now. You deserved better, just so you know. I let him talk. I asked careful questions. Will told me about all the money Jared had been funneling through a fake freelance gig. The same consulting income he used to avoid paying tax on joint earnings. And the same fake job he bragged about to Will over drinks, never realizing. Will was sober now. By the end of the week, Will had forwarded me emails, photos, voice messages. He didn't want a reward, just closure. I always thought he was a narcissist in denial, he told me. Turns out he's just a broke one. The courtroom trap. The first hearing wasn't public, but I still wore lipstick. Not for him. For me. He came in late, wearing a suit that still had the tag thread poking from the sleeve. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. I wasn't the fragile woman in labor anymore. I was the one with the receipts. When the judge asked why he failed to appear at Noah's birth, his lawyer stammered some excuse about urgent obligations. That's when my lawyer handed over the exhibit folder. Inside, a time-stamped screenshot of his girlfriend's post from Blue Lantern, the receipt from that night, linked to my credit card, a signed affidavit from Marcy, and 3 months' worth of Venmo transactions to Ashley M., labeled, "Our spot, and you deserve it." The judge's expression didn't change, but her tone did. "I suggest, Mr. Clark, that you approach this court with honesty moving forward. Perjury carries real consequences." Jared finally looked at me. It wasn't hate, it was panic. Good. The slow freeze by month 3, his accounts were under audit. By month 4, his employer had docked pay for back child support, because I'd filed the withholding order quietly. And by month 5, I had something better than a win. I had his silence. He stopped posting, stopped showing off. Even Ashley M. deleted her Instagram. People started to wonder. His friends stopped calling. His own sister, who once accused me of being dramatic, sent me a baby gift. A note attached. I'm sorry. I didn't know what he did. If you ever want to talk. But I didn't need to talk. Not yet, because I wasn't done. By now I had everything. The documentation, the statements, the court orders. But justice isn't always a judge's gavel. Sometimes it's a whisper, one that spreads like wildfire through the circles that once shunned you. And I was ready to light the match. The family group chat started with a baby photo. I sent it, in the Clark family group chat. The one Jared's mother had once kicked me out of when he lied and said I left him for someone else. Hi, everyone. Thought you might want to see Noah at 5 months. Also, for those wondering, yes. Jared has visitation. No, he's never used it. But we're doing just fine. Thanks to all the real support we've received. That was all. No drama, no attack, just truth. The read receipts lit up like a Christmas tree. 10 minutes later, his cousin Lauren replied, Wait, what? He said you. Disappeared? And then his aunt. He told us you had postpartum psychosis. We didn't know. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply to any of them, because the truth speaks loud enough when you let people sit with it. The backfire Jared tried to spin it. I found out from Will, who was basically a full-time informant now, that Jared had started telling people I was weaponizing the legal system and turning Noah against him. He even posted a vague quote to his Facebook. Some women only love control. Some men only want peace. The post got 6 likes. 2 of them were bots. By the next morning, he had turned off comments. The reclamation dinner, the real moment of shift, happened at a dinner I didn't even plan. My best friend Naomi had invited me out. She said it was just for fresh air and fries. But when I walked into the wine bar, it wasn't just her. It was everyone. Old coworkers, neighbors, Jared's sister, Sam, even my high school English teacher, who I hadn't seen in years. Each of them had believed a different version of me once. Too cold, too driven, too emotional, too sensitive. But now, they saw me for what I was. Surviving, steady, unshaken. Sam pulled me aside as the server brought dessert. She was holding her wine glass tightly. I believed him, she said, quietly. I thought you left him. I don't know. I just didn't want to pick sides. You didn't have to, I said. He picked them for you. She nodded, then reached into her purse. I found this, she said, handing me a folded photo. It's you and him, from the anniversary. Dinner 2 years ago. I stared at it. We looked happy. I was laughing, a fork halfway to my mouth. He was looking at me, really looking. Like I was the whole room. But it wasn't real, or maybe it was, and he just destroyed it later. Either way, I slipped the photo back into my bag. Not as a keepsake, as evidence. The turning tide. By the time Noah's first birthday came, the whispers had become shouts. Jared's ex-flings started reaching out to each other. Someone created a private Facebook group titled, His Lies, Our receipts. It had 27 members by the second week. One of them, a girl named Erica, posted, "He said he was divorced. I didn't even know she existed until someone shared this group. They shared stories, dates, patterns, lies repeated like a script." Eventually, one of them, a marketing intern, found my LinkedIn and messaged me privately. "I think you should tell your story. For other women. For yourself. He always made us feel small. You don't sound small anymore." The post, I spent 2 nights writing it. Then, one Friday morning, I clicked publish. I was in labor. He was at our anniversary restaurant with someone else. I gave birth alone. He posted a wine photo. He never showed up the next morning. But I did. For my son. For myself. And this is how I rebuilt. It was long, unfiltered, and devastatingly honest. I didn't ask for pity. I didn't drop names. But I ended it with one line that made sure everyone knew the truth. The silence hurt more than the betrayal. But it also taught me how loud I can be when I finally stop begging to be heard. The post exploded. Within 24 hours, it had been shared over 12,000 times. Comment sections overflowed with stories, some eerily similar, others from women who had stayed silent for years. It wasn't just a post anymore. It was a reckoning. The collapsed Jared's image unraveled like thread caught on a nail. His newest employer, a sleek startup he'd barely landed a job at, quietly removed his photo from the team page. The same women he'd dismissed as crazy were now sharing. Screenshots, emails, voicemails. His pattern wasn't unique, but it was documented. Lethally so, and it reached the desk of someone unexpected. His ex-fiancée from before me. She emailed me directly. "I wish I'd had your strength back then. I just packed my bags and ran. But you stood still and let the truth come to you. That's powerful." Even his parents, who once cut me off without a second glance, showed up one Sunday morning. No call. Just a knock. I opened the door holding Noah. They stood awkwardly with a pie between them. His mother's mascara had smudged. His father cleared his throat twice before saying, "We were wrong. You didn't deserve any of it. I didn't invite them in." But I nodded once. That was enough. The Opportunity, a small nonprofit, reached out through Instagram. They worked with young moms and trauma survivors, and wanted to know if I'd speak at a women's center. Just a one-time thing, no pressure. Almost said no. But then I saw the flyer they drafted. Healing through hurt, surviving betrayal and starting again. I thought about the photo of Jared and me that his sister gave back. The one I kept, not in a frame, but folded in a box of court. Papers. Then I thought of Noah, now waddling around the living room in socks too big for him. And I said yes. 1 year later, the venue was modest, tucked behind a local library. I stood behind the podium in a soft blue blouse. Nothing fancy. Just something that felt like me. There were 50 women in the crowd. Some holding tissues, some holding babies, all holding stories. I didn't read a script. I told them the truth. About the photo, about the wine glass, about how betrayal doesn't just come from strangers, but from the one who once touched your swollen belly and whispered, "I'll never leave." And how healing doesn't look like revenge or rage. It looks like reclaiming your name in the places it was buried. Final scene. The bistro. Exactly 2 years from the night he took her to our anniversary spot, I returned. Not with a man, not with tears, with Noah, sitting in a high chair, crushing crackers with both fists and babbling about dinosaurs. The waiter recognized me. He hesitated, then smiled. Table for two? I nodded. And one booster seat. We sat in the same booth. The same candles, the same faint jazz in the background. But this time, the table was mine. I raised a glass of sparkling water, clinked it gently against Noah's juice cup, and whispered, to the silence that broke me, and the voice that came after,